My name's Daniela Palozzi, and welcome to the new box, Thinking Outside of the Algorithm. So, you've probably noticed that I've got a little saying on my wall, very old saying, one that you've probably heard in a really boring corporate meeting from some person that's just lost the will to live and run out of ideas, and they're like, right, guys, we need to think outside the box. But this has got me thinking, like, what does this even mean? What does this even mean? Is it somebody help me? But I guess after hearing this in meetings for years, I just started thinking, like, what even is this box now? Because everything's changed. Like, AI's changed, algorithms have changed, like automation is just, it's not just for marketeers anymore, it's now for everybody. And I think that there's a lot of corporate branding out there, a lot of LinkedIn sameness. So I guess what I'm trying to explore is, what happened to this box? Has it disappeared? Or is the box there, but we just need to think smarter, to think outside of it? So, yeah, we're going to be exploring this in a little thing that I'm doing. And yeah, let's see how we go. Been exploring unique marketing methods in a totally overloaded advertising society, and I have found that being personable and more human is much better than copying. I have been working in marketing for around 20 years. I run a couple of businesses. My purpose is to help my customers and to help brands to connect with their target audience using handwritten letters, which actually get noticed and build real human conversations so that you can generate more leads, more income, or more of an impact. So, what we're going to talk about in part one is we're going to talk about the old box versus the new box. So, what is this box? Where did it come from? So, if we think about the old box, so the box inside the box used to be things like corporate thinking, rigid marketing, or this is how it's always been done, let's do something fresh, or even things like traditional advertising or branding that is totally safe. So that was the old box. And I think to be thinking outside of that was that you were seen to be being creative, or you were seen to be being disruptive. Love that word. Disruptive or original. And that's what thinking outside of the box was. But what is it now? So, the new box, there's a whole new box, something else to say on top of, but we're going to go through it together. So, the new box is algorithms, the new box is AI sameness, a new box is optimization culture. Let's test this, test that, test that, which, don't get me wrong, as a marketeer, I'm all for. But if we're all testing the same things, suddenly it becomes sameness. Also, things like trend copying. So, okay, I've been following this amazing person that's doing this great thing. And don't get me wrong, like, there are some brilliant people out there doing some amazing things with lots of things to say, just like I have. However, if everybody's doing the same thing and following the same funnel and doing that all the time, suddenly everyone's doing the same thing again. So I guess what I'm trying to move away from, me personally, is also another thing that's inside the box, which is this polished authenticity thing. I mean, I'm quite of an out of the box person, I would say, and I'm not for once saying you have to wear colourful clothes and, like, be a weirdo like me, which I'm very proud of, by the way. But I think that with everybody sounding identical, we really need to establish, who are we in this whole marketing game? Who are we, and how can we show people what we are all about, in our marketing, and also on here, which is one of the reasons I'm talking to you now. So, going back to this new box that we're now trying to escape my martyr's style. So, we have automated creativity, which, in my personal opinion, there's things that can be automated and there's things that need to be genuinely you. So, like, I'm sure Andy Warhol and Picasso would be absolutely turning in their graves, because with that, while we have automated this creativity, we've also unknowingly and accidentally created conformity. So everybody is following these structures and doing the same thing. And that is not what's going to stand out in this day and age. So if everyone's doing the same things, what is the point? Like, everyone has access to these tools. So with that, being human really becomes your differentiator. Like, you think about ClickFunnels, you think about the processes that they used to use, and then they would teach it to everybody else. But by the time, and don't get me wrong, very successful, Russell Brunson, absolute legend. But by the time it filtered down and down and down and down, and he'd sold to so many people, this stopped working because people were used to seeing it and people don't like being sold to. So we have to make sure that we are continuously keeping up with what makes us original. Okay, so in part two, I'm going to talk about why everything feels really weird right now, and not in a good way. So, in the previous section, we talked about the box, the old think outside the box, and the new box, which is algorithms and automation and all of these things that we're told that we should be doing. So, this section, we're going to talk about LinkedIn messages that feel robotic. We're going to talk about AI comments. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that there are loads of people doing some really wicked stuff in this space, and I'm not for one saying, yeah, follow this, just send a letter, everything's going to be fine. That's not what this is about. But I think that it is important to bring to light that the ones that are standing out to you are possibly not the ones that are good. The amount of people that can judge. I've just been replied to by a fucking bot. Like, who wants to talk to a bot? Seriously. I mean, I will talk to Alexa, but I will talk to her and I will say, hey, set a meeting for this time, set a meeting for that time. That's what they should be used for. But with actually talking to you as a human, what are you going to think when someone says, hey, great point about insert topic here? Can we jump on a call? You're going to go, fuck no. You're just doing someone else's dirty work. I do not want to talk to you, dirty bot. So you've probably noticed it, and you've probably noticed that certain things are easy to spot when they are bots. So I'm not, again, not saying don't use them, but for God's sake, put some effort in and make them human. Marketing does not have to feel like that. Marketing can feel more personal and it can feel more real. And we can use AI to be able to do the automation stuff that helps us to be more proactive and productive humans. But there are ways of doing it. So, you know, when somebody messages you and you're like, in 3 seconds, you're like, absolutely not. I'm so not talking to you. And you actually get annoyed. And that annoyance is us trying to protect ourselves from not being able to do all of the things that are on our own to-do list, right? Humans are incredibly good at detecting patterns. Like, do you remember when you were younger and at school and you used to have those mad, like, magic books where you could, like, detect a pattern if you made your eyes go a little bit squiffy? I was never very good at those, but we do eventually notice the pattern. And I think that what we're looking at now, and certainly when I look back when I was first playing about with AI and thought it was so cool, oh my God, I put together this like social media post in 1 minute with like literally one prompt. And I'm looking back at it on my memories going, oh my God, did I put that out there? Because we are starting to understand how these bots are communicating with us. And we are starting to notice that a lot of people are saying the same things. And this is what we need to break away from. And we need to be thinking outside of this new box. So people are certainly looking for a few things, and not just like M dashes and the word quietly in every single bloody post, which I have been guilty of before. I'm sorry, we are all trying to improve here. But I think they're also looking for insincerity, manipulation, potentially overperformance as well. And this is something that I'm trying to get better at as well, like not being a perfectionist. Just because something isn't polished and perfect like it was in marketing 10 years ago doesn't mean that it can't go out there. And I'm trying to bring this more realness side of me, which a lot of you that know me properly will realize that that's me. Possibly a little bit weirder. Let's see how we get on when we get to know each other. But yeah, I think that if there's an emotional mismatch and you feel like it's not genuine, then You don't trust perfect, right? You trust believable. And that is our greatest superpower in marketing at the moment, is authenticity. So now I'm going to talk about why human imperfection matters now more than ever. And this is why I am trying to show up for you and be my perfectly imperfect self. So, this is something that I've been working with my company, Handwritten Post. So, we are sending handwritten letters to businesses, donors. We're even writing little notes that go to through people's doors for people that want to sell things like driveways, windows. There's so much scope with some of the stuff that we've been working with, and then not just small sort of locals as well, but huge nationals are now taking this on board and realizing the importance of authenticity and being human in an AI world that we're living in, right? So what I try to do when we're writing, we don't, I'm not saying we're going to be scribbly, but we don't write in absolutely straight lines. This is about using real pens, and making sure they have a real indentation on the page, a real thought that goes into them, and content that feels like somebody is speaking to you, not like you are being pitched to. Now, don't get me wrong, once you do have that connection and they do see your value, then you can pitch to them. You know, we all want to make money, of course we do. But in order to get in front of somebody, to be able to get given that opportunity, we have to be more human. And I'm thinking like mistakes in writing, even sometimes, are something that we will use at Pemberton Post, because people are so on a radar of, I'm being marketed to, I'm being sold to, I'm off. So we need to be able to fight that. And believe it or not, that sort of imperfection is what does that. So bringing some personality into it is really, really important. And I have had clients that have clearly just gone, hey, ChatGPT, write me a pitch. And I've got it back, and me being me, I've kind of refused, and I've said, no, we can do better here. But not to be antagonistic, what I've done is I've taken my time and I have written something for them without the use of ChatGPT, or maybe just to check on the grammar, etc. We are messy, imperfect humans after all. But I think that the ideas really need to come from us, or us. By us, I mean business owners or creatives, or if you're not creative, that's okay. There's loads of us out there, and we want to help you. But I think weirdly, like, the more human something feels, the more people trust it now. Which is, it seems like we've just completely done a 360. At first, everyone wanted to be polished. They wanted, really smart letterheads, and everything had to be, as professional as possible. And now we've just gone right around the other way, and we're just looking for something genuine because the bots have taken over. So, in a world that is generated by AI communication, like, humanity became a premium. It became rebellious, which sounds insane. It sounds insane, but that is the world that we are living in at the moment. Okay, so now I want to talk about the dangerous part, I guess, that nobody talks about. So, like, I'm not against AI, as I've said before, and the issue isn't even AI in itself. So, the issue is what people are choosing to outsource. So, when people start to outsource true thinking, when they start to outsource empathy, even, if they start to outsource communication and originality and the effort and the thought process that go on, we're just becoming editors of machine generated personalities, which is a really, really sad prospect. Because the amount of times that I've written something and I'm like, oh my God, AI can write so much better than me. But people don't want to talk to a bot. Though my clients want to talk to me. Well, at least most of them do. So, really, what I wanted to talk about is that people are using AI without adding themselves into it. And you can add yourself into AI, don't get me wrong. Of course you can. But don't let it outsource everything. Like, businesses are sounding interchangeable, and with that, it brings a whole dilution of identity. And with that dilution of identity, as I've mentioned before, we then are conforming to something that isn't us. And people want to know about you. So I think the problem is not AI. It is when humans completely disappear from the process. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what exactly does thinking outside the box mean today. So, in my opinion, it is sounding like yourself. We are all glorious weirdos, and this is how we make connections. And we don't have to sound like ChatGPT. Don't get me wrong, ChatGPT sounds great, but I would much prefer to speak to a real human. Another one is not being scared to have actual opinions, and this is something that I'm personally, I've always had very strong opinions, but I think one of the reasons why I've stayed away from the camera is because I got worried about that. I got worried that if I did have opinions about things, that I would be judged or not seen as professional because I wear crazy coloured stuff and I've got big false eyelashes on, which I adore and I wouldn't want to change. I'm me and I'm happy with me. But we need to establish who we are and put ourselves out there and risk that imperfection by putting ourselves out there. I also think that making people feel something is really, really important. So, for those of you that have been following me, so I rescued this little mouse that I was outside. I saw this mouse in the neighbour's cat's mouth, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's got another one! For God's sake, Louis, what are you doing?" Um, and then I noticed it was moving, so I was like, "Shit!" So ran, catch the cat to catch the mouse. Saw the mouse's leg was just dragging behind it. I thought, shit, he's not going to survive. So chucked the cat inside the house, got a box, got this mouse in a box, and I rehabilitated it so that his leg got better. I got a little wheel and stuff like that. Everyone's been super invested. Like, his name's Howard, like, it's a whole thing. I think I had about 44,000 views on this flipping mouse that I'd saved. But what I'm trying to say is that it's authentic, it's day to day life. And I think this is what I'm ready to share with you all in a little bit more detail about what I get up to. Not because I'm trying to be some sort of influencer, not because I want to be a Kardashian. Some of the stuff that I do, people want to see. They wanted to see this little mouse rescue thing, and I'm glad I put it out there because I did think, oh, is that a bit weird? But you know what? I'm proud to be weird. So yeah, it's only going to get weirder from here, guys. And I think also just resisting the sameness that's going with the algorithm at the moment as well. And this is something that at Pemberton Post, obviously, we're trying to do with our letters, but also with my other company, Website Doctors, which it does websites, marketing, etc. It's something that I'm really trying to encourage the team to move away from the old way of doing things, and also like just utilizing ChatGPT in the way that it has been. I mean, some of our posts that we've put out there, I've looked at and I've gone, that's not us. And it's about trying to, we're never going to be perfect. You know, we're never going to be perfect. Like I said, gloriously imperfect. But I think that if we can try to leverage what we are as humans a little bit more in our content, then the world is going to be a much more interesting place, and B, people are going to flock to you so much more for being yourself and using that as your superpower without sounding soppy. So in an AI era, like, being human is not a weakness anymore. It's a strategy. And do you know what? I'm here for it. Thanks for listening.